Let's welcome in Abby Barmore, who's still bitter at me for not letting her go to Brazil. But it was a very good trip, Abby, for the Nebraska volleyball team in Brazil. Give us a quick recap. How did it go out there for them?
Yeah, so they actually played 4 games. The first 3 were in a tournament, and they were against like under 19 teams. So they had some good players, but Nebraska dominated them, swept all of them. I don't even know if anyone scored 15 points in a set against Nebraska. So they did really good, and every single player played. They really mixed up the roster. And then yesterday, on Tuesday, they actually played Brazil's under 21 team. So that was a big game for them, and they were the best team that they played, kind of by far. Yeah, and they swept them. But the first game, they had to come back from like a big deficit. So that was really good for them to have to figure out how to do that and lean on each other. And then also the big thing I would say is who started for that game. Mm-hmm. And the setter for that was Bergen Riley. And she did really good. And
oh boy,
yeah,
true freshman.
Yeah, she's a true freshman.
Okay, we got a quarterback battle.
All right, let's get to the mailbag, Abby. Where are you starting us off at?
Okay, which positions are in trouble of a starter if a starter gets injured or not?
You know what's interesting about that question? Besides quarterback, which you guys correctly identified in the chat as the position that would be affected the most. Is there really a position that you feel like
center?
Ben Scott.
Well, Ethan Piper can fill in there. He can move in there seamlessly.
Ethan
Piper
seamlessly.
I mean, what
do you think the level of drop off between Ben Scott and Ethan Piper?
28 career starts center. For Ben Scott
at center.
Piper. I mean, I wouldn't be overly concerned in the press box if it happened.
There were people saying Ben Scott was the best overall offensive lineman on the entire unit coming out of spring ball.
Well, there would be a drop off, but I don't think it would be an alarming drop off.
Okay.
Who else could you throw in there? Could you throw Turner Corcoran?
Ty Robinson.
No, at center. Oh,
I'm saying. I thought you were in the conversation.
Ty Robinson at center. Interesting.
Yeah. Well,
Nash Hutmacher to center.
The rumors are flying.
If you lost Ty Robinson,
yeah, okay. That's a big one.
Just the depth.
Even Nash would be big.
Yeah, depth.
They just don't have any veteran depth there.
Right.
Like MJ Sherman would be a hit, but they have. I do think Billy Kemp would be a hit because of the punt returns, and he's their number 1 receiver.
Mm-hmm. He's by far their most productive wide receiver.
We'll see.
Marcus Washington has nowhere near the career productivity.
Billy Kemp was one of the all-time leading receivers.
Well, I know Kemp's credentials. But there's a couple guys on that team. I mean, a guy just got eligible named Xavier Betts, too. I mean, it wouldn't shock me if one of those other guys was their number 1 receiver. And it could be we could just be splitting hairs. Kemp maybe more catches, a couple of those other guys more yards, But I get what you're saying. They're going to go to Kemp a lot of it's going to be short type stuff. What do you call those routes?
Sticky routes.
I mean, you'll see Kemp on a lot of sticky routes. He won't be the only one.
What about corner?
I like him. They got.
What
depth.
if Quentin Newsom went down?
They got options.
They got depth because you might think of Buford, for instance, as a safety, but he can play corner.
Mm-hmm. They refuse to label positions. Evan Cooper again said to me, "We have defensive backs, not positions," and the linebackers are the same way. And everybody in our crazy Nebraska media way, we want to identify every position and who's the backup nickel. Mm-hmm. And, our nutty Nebraska coverage.
Well, Sean, you are leading the.
I am leading the nutty, but the coaching staff is quick to always say,
"No, you're right.
Everybody plays every position." Like they kind of shut down the special features on. This guy is a certain. They want everybody to learn everything. So I do think that versatility will help. What do you got next, Abby?
What do you think of Scotty McCreery performing after Volleyball Day in Nebraska?
Personally underwhelmed. I didn't even know who he was.
Okay, interesting.
I heard that, and so looked it up. Whatever. It's not about the concert. No. It's about the Volleyball Day. And yeah, I mean, I think that's just kind of a bonus. But can you imagine if they would have gotten like
U2,
Foo Fighters? Yes.
Bono.
I mean, they're already 91 plus.
Yeah.
And that's with Scotty McCreery.
Then all of a sudden those like cheap tickets that, the cheap tickets are very inexpensive. There'd be a scalper's market.
Skyrocket.
Like if there was a legit concert tied in. I mean, when basketball would bring in, it was always interesting in those scrimmages you guys would do for basketball. they'd bring in some like big name like rap artists.
Mm-hmm.
There probably a lot of people would come to PBA that have never been
absolutely.
to a Nebraska.
There were two very different crowds at those things. There's the people that are to watch the scrimmage or the workout, and there are the people there for the concert.
Mhm.
You could see there's a pretty clear distinction.
That's good. You bring in new
Exactly.
folks. Yeah.
So you got people that had probably never watched Nebraska basketball in PBA, watching Nebraska
Yeah,
basketball.
you bring in
PBA.
another type of fan. And
New
that's good.
fans.
Yeah.
So maybe
So
that
what's
maybe
the
we get
guy's
some
name?
of that. Scotty
McCreary?
McCreary.
Will people all stay for the concert, or is it? I mean, the match is quick. Like, do you think
With that many people, I'll bet you there's a lot that try to beat traffic.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to deal with filing out of Memorial Stadium. When's it end? Do you know? Like, what's the time frame on that?
Well, Nebraska's game starts at 7.
Oh, yeah,
so
so it's
they
gonna be
didn't even put an estimate on when Scotty would go on.
9:30?
And then so there's going to be like the stage setup and all that. So
It's on
gonna
a
be late
Wednesday.
show. Yeah.
Though the stage will be out there, right?
Yeah.
They'll have it all.
You got to imagine there's going to be some sort of transition there.
I mean, it's pretty. I think the way they have that map of it. I mean, they show it all kind of already pre-built into the field because the volleyball court on the football field, the small little fly.
Yeah.
Either way, it's going to be a late show. I'll bet you the crowd for the Nebraska match compared to the crowd for the concert is going to be less.
I mean, I'm not going to, I don't want to call the shot here, but I mean, they'll probably sweep UNO. I mean, if
Have
they're
you done your scouting report on UNO yet? Do you have a
They-
full-blown scouting report?
I do not have a full-blown one, but they are actually a good team. And 2 years ago when they played Nebraska, they took them to 5 sets.
that would be
That would be interesting. Or the upset would be interesting.
Can you imagine if
Talk
they
about a late
lost that? Break the world record for women's sporting event.
They bring the
attendance
UNO
and take an L.
volleyball coach up on the stage for the concert. This is our house.
Well, I'll tell you, you know, you got to think like a coach. John has to think about that. He's got to get his athletes ready to roll. It's not just a party for them.
I can't imagine that team like just going through the motions on that stage. Like you could see like they're at home and it's against, you know, what is considered a lesser opponent. On that thing, like they will not lose that game.
Maybe
that match. They
UNO's
will not
just
lose
real.
that
What
match.
if UNO's just really good in windy conditions?
They can play the elements.
Will John Cook
Just strangely good with the wind blowing.
and this will be good stuff for Abby as leading up. Will they practice outside?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a very good question.
all of the teams will have one practice outside.
But I wonder
They
if
do
John would
before.
take his players outside for other. I would.
Would he have access to like go on the field and like do
Well,
drills like literally on the Memorial Stadium
not
field?
with a field because they're gonna have the court down.
Yeah. But I'm just like for like adjusting to the ball in that stadium with this.
Yeah,
all
they
the
could
things
just do
surrounding-
passing.
They're going to be
out
under
there.
the lights. Well, maybe not under the lights. It'll be bright enough.
Any
but-
Nebraska football coach would tell you the wind swirls in that place.
And the serving marks are gonna be hard to hit.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Really hard. I mean,
That's very. I think it's
Fascinating.
an intriguing conversation.
and you know, in volleyball, like it's not just like serve the ball wherever. I mean, it's
Carly, for Carly, it would.
It's an exact point, right, Abby?
Yeah.
If you're an inch or two off, like you're not doing. I mean, they want your serve like where they tell you every time.
Yeah. Before every serve, John Cook has a big board that he has, and he puts his hand behind it, has a number on it, and then each number has its own zone.
Hmm.
So that's where they're expected to serve.
This is Sean like doing this Karch Karai over there.
All right, we got time for one final question.
Okay, our last one. You guys have been to a lot of camps over the years in Lincoln and also satellite camps. So what is the most talented camp you've been to, and what has been your wildest experience at a camp?
Sean.
FIU, Butch Davis, Adidas camp tour. I mean, there was like 1,000 kids there, and I'm not exaggerating.
Whoa.
And they had jerseys on with numbers, and it was, I remember Greg and Nate Klaus. We were just like, this is the best collection of kids we've ever seen. But Butch did not want to give any of the other Adidas schools the roster, so nobody had a roster. And I mean, you're just watching 4-4, 4-4, 4-5 running right by you everywhere. And Mike Riley comes up to me and he goes, God, Sean, there's a lot of kids here. It'd be nice though to know who they are. And Butch wanted to recruit all those guys to FIU. So, he doesn't want to give away any of these kids' names to the other Adidas schools that could get them out of Miami at that time to go. And he was really protective. Like there were some office staffers that traveled with Nebraska. Todd McShane, who's now at Northwestern with Pat Fitzgerald, he couldn't go into the camp. He could travel with them, but couldn't go in the camp. So he's like, I'm going to go hang out in the FIU offices. Butch kicked him out of the offices. He goes, you can't be up here. You got to get out of here.
Wow, Butch.
He was, and he,
that's the right move, by the way. I wouldn't want an opposing coach hanging in my office.
And then
Seriously,
then he roasted Shenander. I'll never forget this. Like he goes
Butch
up to, he goes, hey, you gonna coach, or are you just going to be one of those guys that stands around in the back? And Shenander goes, I'll coach. Where do you want me, coach? Tell me where to go. You know, and like it was that was an
interesting day.
There, yeah, I mean, there was a lot of talent. And then Ken Dorsey, who's now an NFL offensive coordinator, he was like the director of facilities at FIU, and so he led us in around the facility. It was me, Nate, Greg, and Ken Dorsey, and he's walking us around. I'm like, this is the guy that pretty much changed the trajectory of Nebraska's program with that Rose Bowl performance.
Oh, yeah, it might have changed before then a
little bit before, but
a little bit. I mean, Colorado.
Those Miami ones are always.
That was Ken Dorsey leading you around?
Yeah.
I'll be darned.
It's got to be.
Sean, I'm not going to top that.
Yeah. But I mean, as far as most talent I've ever seen at a camp, it has to be that Friday Night Lights camp back in 2017. Mike Parsons. Buki, who else? Max Dugan was there.
Yeah.
I mean, like, just go down the list.
Wasn't impressive. Robert Griffin's son there too from the Big Ten?
Howard Griffin.
Yeah,
yep, he was there.
Howard Griffin.
And a bunch of like four-star. Marcus Washington was there.
Yep.
Well, there was like 8,000 fans at the camp.
Yeah, I mean that was a spectacle.
Well, and Parsons was catching passes.
He was
like a
unbelievable.
Receiver, right?
That was the most impressive high school athlete I've ever seen.
Really?
Yeah.
He's a linebacker for those the uninitiated. This is Micah Parsons, the linebacker who was catching passes like a wide receiver.
Burning 4-star cornerbacks off the line, catching touchdowns.
So he's doing pretty good.
Mike Riley may not have won a lot of games here, but those camps were really good. I mean,
yeah, he won. He started that conversation about winning the offseason, I thought. People bring that up on the board a lot. I think that's where it really started.
Yeah, that's
with Riley.
The level of hype coming out of that event was unbelievable.
Right.
Because you actually thought Nebraska might get some of these guys. Well, they didn't. They didn't get any of them.
A lot of bridesmaids.
But it was fun at the time. It was fun at the time.
And even in some cases, not even making the groom's party. You're like an usher at the wedding. I mean,
Damn it. But it was fun.
You're the guy that helps haul equipment in and out of the reception.
Bridal attendants.